What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. By now, I'm sure we've all seen the Timothy Bradley-Ruslan Provodnikov fight, and I have a question for you guys. Based on that fight and the level of head trauma and the shots that Timothy Bradley was taking in that fight, the level of damage, how much mileage do you think that put on his career? Do you think this fight is a career changer? Do you think Timothy Bradley will ever be the same? Or do you think this fight has internally or mentally or physically done something to him to the point where he'll never be the same? So I'm just curious to see what your guys' opinions are on that. Um, Ever since I've put any video post-fight Timothy Bradley, Ruslan Provodnikov, I'm getting a lot of people who are bringing up Pacquiao. Let's, since you guys want to bring him up, let's just talk about this. Manny Pacquiao is in a completely different space than Timothy Bradley, mentally and possibly physically. Manny Pacquiao got knocked out cold, unconscious. So he's in a completely different category. Timothy Bradley, although he took a lot of shots, there's no secret to that. However, he was able to withstand them and win the fight. So, in my opinion, Manny Pacquiao, being the older fighter and being the fighter who lost their last two fights and lost their last fight in a brutal KO fashion, I think he's in a worse position to recover. I think personally, Timothy Bradley just needs to stick to boxing, take a good amount of time off from the sport, maybe 6 to 8 months, just to get his head right, get back in shape, make sure all the swelling and he has no head trauma or anything like that, and then just come back really focused, and I think he'll be all right. I think he definitely gained fans that night. As far as Pacquiao is in a whole different space. Um, because realistically, Timothy Bradley, he has the wherewithal and the ability to outbox a lot of people, even Ruslan Provodnikov, and he showed that a lot in the middle rounds. Um, his big thing was he came out with this chip on his shoulder, and he was attempting to fight in a style that didn't really suit him. He's not a hard puncher; he's a light puncher, and you're going against a tough slugger. It's not a good look. Um, Roy Jones Jr. said it best. He said, I think he said, you box a slugger and you fight a boxer. So basically, you do the opposite. If it's a slugger, you don't want to be two sluggers, and it'll be like Mike Alvarado versus Brandon Rios, and the person who gets the better shots off wins. Mike Alvarado had more success when he was outboxing Brandon Rios, but when he tried to beat Rios at Rios' own game, now you're fighting his type of fight. He wants that phone booth, up close and personal type of fight. So my point being, Timothy Bradley can make adjustments. He doesn't have to fight like that. In fact, I've never even seen him fight that toe to toe and that standing up. And I mean, it was just crazy. And it made for a hell of a fight, but hopefully he learns his lesson. And Joel Diaz kind of gets in his ear and lets him know you need to go back to the fundamentals of what made you undefeated and what made you a good fighter. But Pacquiao, he's a little bit older, and I honestly think Pacquiao fights the way he fights, and it's not really defensive minded. It's offensive minded, and he relied a lot on athleticism and speed, and I think some of that's slowing down for him. So I think he's in a completely different space, and some of you Pactars should really be worried because historically, and this is not even just like I'm not even knocking Pacquiao. I'm just telling y'all, historically, most fighters don't look the same after brutal losses, TKO losses, KO losses. Look at Miguel Cotto. I mean, this dude was looking unstoppable like a train. He was beating people like Paulie Malignaggi, Zab Judah, DeMarcus Corley, who was relevant at the time, Rocky Martinez, Shane Mosley, and then that one fateful night he fought Antonio Margarito, who might have cheated. We don't really know at that point if Margarito was loading his gloves, and he's never really been the same. He had an easy fight right after the Margarito one. Then he had a controversial split decision win over Josh Clottey. I gotta watch it again, but I think Josh Clottey should have won that. It was a close fight, but I think I would have gave it to Josh Clottey. Um, and he just hasn't really looked the same. I think him beating Margarito did a lot for his pride, and you've seen him give Floyd a good fight. But ultimately, he doesn't look like the same Cotto, so it definitely did something to his confidence. You look at fighters like Mike Jones. Mike Jones, I think in 2007, he fought 7 times. And then every year since that, so 2008, 9, 10, he's fought about 3 or 4 times. Now, about mid last year, maybe June, he fought Randall Bailey, and Randall Bailey just annihilated him and knocked him out with that shot. So if you haven't seen it, make sure you YouTube that. It was a brutal, brutal knockout, and I ain't heard from him since. So again, a guy who was fighting 7 times, and I mean, you could say that he was fighting bums or whatever, but he was fighting 7 times. He was pretty active. He was fighting in every year since that, probably about 3 or 4 times. And since his knockout loss, I haven't even seen him. I haven't seen no interviews. I don't know. He's somewhere out in Philly. So as far as Pacquiao, he's not in a good position, because when he fights next, it's gonna be all eyes on me, all eyes on him. They're gonna be wondering where his head's at and how he's fighting. So um, yeah, that's Pacquiao. But anyway, let me know what you guys think about Timothy Bradley. Where does he go from here? Is this like a landmark fight that is going to be career changing for him? Or do you think he'll be able to bounce back? Let me know something. Leave a comment. Until next video, it's Ego signing off.